Brian from the BDSRA headquarters, and we have had obviously the wonderful privilege of working with Noah Coughlan this year. And what started out on World Rare Disease Day over 4.5 months ago was a journey I'm not sure we all expected him to make it. I have to be completely honest. It was, like Lance said, a crazy idea. And I thought, I'll get excited when it gets to Phoenix. I'll get excited when it gets to Dallas. And then I got really excited. And it was really fun. And I just really want to thank you for doing this. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you to share.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's been a weird 5 days for me not having to do anything. It really has. I had done some permanent changes in my brain, trying to figure out logistics and everything every day. But last Saturday, 4 o'clock, I became the 222nd person to ever run across America, from coast to coast. Believe it or not, it's been done twice. It's the 250th time it's ever been done. And it was the craziest and most dangerous thing I've ever done in my life. But let me wind the clocks back. There was a reason why I did it, and what got me there in the first place was I want to bring you back to 1990. Let's say I was 11 years old. I can't remember the year. But I had, our family had changed churches, and that's when I had met Joe and Kathy Allio. Joe, if you can stand up real quick, Joe. Joe was my youth pastor growing up. And over time, I got to know his family and got to know Katie and Annie Allio, which are 2 of his girls. And I grew older. And 27 now, but just that's 16 years I've been able to see how the disease has affected their family. And about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I started getting curious as to why there was they weren't getting better. I had never been very close. I've been close with the family, but never had stayed in the home and seen exactly what they go through. But I knew how challenging it was for Joe and Kathy and the other siblings involved. So I knew I wanted to know more about it. And out of curiosity, I started looking into Batten disease. I started coming across videos and pictures and stories, and I remember watching all the videos on from Beyond Batten Disease and from David Pierce and John Lee Cooper. About this time last year, I was secretly planning this mission across the U.S., and that was before I had flown out to Ohio and met Lance, and that's before I had put together a website, battenjourney.com, and put together Facebook, and I was off the grid. Nobody could find me. You couldn't find me anywhere, and but it was something I was passionate about. I wanted to help everybody out, and it just came down to one small idea. It was how big can I go? What's going to have some shock value that's going to have the media and just the general population pay attention? So I said, well, it doesn't get bigger than running across America. It's what I could contribute. I didn't have $1 million or $100,000 to contribute, but I was an athlete. I've always been an athlete. I'm always the last guy on the basketball court, last guy on the football field who's still running around. My history teacher from high school actually made it out here. He's sitting in the back over there. Mr. J's back there. So he made it out. So I said, you know what? I'm going coast to coast. I know it's been done before. And I'm doing it. And nobody was getting in my way. The first step was to get Joe and Kathy's thumbs up. So I went to their house one morning, and Joe thought I was coming over to do I'm talking about a big fundraiser. He had no clue what he was in store for. So I pulled the map out and said, Joe, Kathy, I'm running from here to here. And that's when Kathy made her promise. She said, if you run across America, I will fly out. And flying is one of her biggest fears. But she made it. She's out here. And doing good. So a little bit about me before I mention about the miles and everything else. My normal job, I do undercover security. So I can wear this to work. I wear jeans and t-shirt and work for a grocery company up in Northern California. I'm the assistant manager for the undercover, so we sit in a room full of cameras and wait for someone to come in and shoplift. So we have a hands-on policy. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so when somebody steals, it's not to be a tough guy, but you fight, we're gonna fight you back. And just because we don't know if you have weapons on you. But that's my normal job, that's what I do. Take people to the ground, not your old ladies and old men, but mostly your teenagers who are coming and lifting a bottle of Grey Goose or something like that. So that's my normal job. And I was comfortable enough to go to the company. They've known me for years, and I told them my plan, and they were supportive. So I got support from the very beginning. Another thing I did was I went to Napa Valley Police Academy. I'm a certified Police Academy graduate right now, which means I just need a job. That's all I need to become a police officer. So one thing holding me back from doing this was I was in backgrounds for 2 police departments, and I always make it to the last couple rounds, but someone more qualified beats me out. There are a few police departments looking at me now, which is, we'll see what happens when I get back. Let me just go with my notes here. So I came up with this plan, go coast to coast. I said 2,400 miles, I came up to 2,460. And I said, okay, well, that's 24 miles, I gotta do that 100 times. So I gave myself 132 days to do it. I talked to some previous cross-country runners and studied their routes, and studied their methods, and tried to just do it. I remember talking to Adina one day, and from an administration standpoint, there's no way you can plan for me coming into your office saying, hey, I'm running across America. It's something you have to plan as you go, and we made it. We made it, and doing good. So the miles themselves, we talked just about the miles. Anyone pick any 25 miles you want to go any direction, and do it. You might be able to figure out which roads you're on, but once you get out there, you don't know how wide the shoulder is. Sometimes we'll be going through country, some rural areas, and that brings dogs. Dogs, I like dogs, but not the ones that come after me. Dogs would fly out of houses. I always have a can of pepper spray. And then you have running access. Sometimes you had a big shoulder that was this wide, and sometimes you had nothing. Sometimes you had a sidewalk. Sidewalk after 200 miles will tear your knees up, so then you walk the grass again. I got plenty of blisters in the dirt in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. I hit everything from heat and humidity, some really bad humidity in Louisiana. Got rained out a few times, except for the second to last day. I had no option but to run. A few tornado warnings. Got food poisoning once. That was my worst injury, I guess you could say. That was in Texas, but the miles themselves were pretty. It was tough. It was tough. My body adjusted. I'd say when I got to El Paso area, that took me about 3 states. My body adjusted, accepted the fact that I was going to continue running. I had got a lot of advice from some other athletes because I've never done this before. There's no way I could prepare. I was in shape enough before I started to do it, did 2 marathons right before I left. And I knew if I did it right that I would make it safely. When you add in all those dangers of weather and dogs, and you add in the support driver who's following up in front of you or behind in a Chevy Tahoe, which was my friends and family who'd flown out, then it adds a new element of safety, because now you have them who are looking in their rearview mirrors. And that was the miracle, that was the thing that surprised me, was that I made it safely of 4+ months, and my drivers made it safely from coast to coast out of the thousands or million cars that passed us on the road, that there was no collisions with us. I could keep talking for 8 hours, so I'm just going to kind of go through my notes, but planned as much as we could, had a GPS device with an SOS button. I could always hit it if there was a safety problem. I never really had any problems with people. So that brings me to media. The whole point of me running was to get on the media. And the press was very receptive to what I was doing. I always took the time to introduce myself and give them brochures and educate them on the story they were going to be covering, but they wanted to know about Batten disease and about my run. Trying to squeeze that into a 30-second clip is challenging, but they were very helpful. And did the media, so trying to arrange that throughout the day, and running, and eating and sleeping, did that sometimes, was a challenge. Facebook and YouTube was my best friend, trying to get the information out to everybody. Twitter, I don't really tweet, but I kind of had to get used to it. So Facebook, Twitter, so I enjoy